Hey guys, so Dragon Ball Daima episode 15, titled Third Eye, has now aired, so we'll go ahead and do our typical breakdown, and I will talk about this episode. As usual, massive spoiler alert, going to talk about the entire episode, so if you have not seen the episode yet, I recommend you don't watch this video until you have watched it, unless you just don't care about spoilers, so let's go ahead and just jump into things. I guess just initial overall thoughts, and then we'll get into the actual synopsis. I think a lot of people are going to get very upset about this episode. I think there are a lot of very silly things that happened. I understand why they took the stance they did with the entire premise behind this episode, but I don't want to say nothing happened, because there was actually some lore in this episode. But this is probably one of my lesser favorite episodes of Daima so far. I'd probably put this in the bottom 3, honestly, of episodes of Daima so far. For me, obviously, this is my own opinion about this. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the synopsis here. I have a lot of notes. We'll go through, I guess, just starting with the beginning, I guess. We have some images here to go with this. So obviously, the episode 14 ended with them arriving at the first demon realm, the first demon world, and they're sort of falling through the sky, and Goma sees this, and he essentially orders the royal police to just attack them. So that's where the episode starts out with. I'll just go through my notes here and I'll add some additional supplemental info as we go through what I have here. Episode starts with Goma sicking the royal police on Goku and the crew. They start being assaulted with gunfire, so they all go to hide behind some rocks and engage in almost a Western style shootout. Yeah. So that's kind of what this is here. You can see that the rocks are here, and they're, Ponzi's like shooting with her gun. Gloria is shooting with his gun, and Vegeta and Goku are shooting ki blasts, like hiding behind the rocks. That's kind of what the scene looked like. Goku gets hit and is stunned for a second, but quickly gets up and uses the power pole to wreck a few of their ships. Yeah, so it actually does show Goku get hit. I don't know if it actually shows him like the instance of him actually getting hit, but I mean these are not normal guns. These are powered by the same power source that essentially the ships are powered by, so they do have like a stunning effect to them. So this is not simply Goku getting shot by like a normal gun and getting affected by that. Pretty soon Vegeta gets fed up and goes on the offensive, blasting through the ships, but also takes a hit from their guns and gets stunned for a second. Yeah, so I don't know if they show that. No, they don't. So Vegeta, I mean, they show Vegeta like blasting, but he actually gets hit as well and gets like shot down, and gets stunned for like a second and gets up. And then he actually asks Goku for one of the healing bugs. So basically the Senzu Bean bugs, he asks for one of those. So I don't know. They actually put a lot of emphasis on this. They like, Vegeta took the bug and then he like intently stared at it and it zoomed into the bug. I don't know if this is foreshadowing. It might be foreshadowing to something like maybe Goku gives Vegeta the wrong bug later and they end up fusing with the fusing bug. I don't know. But it really like went out of its way to explicitly show what the Senzu Bean bug looked like in this episode. There was like a 5-second pause when it zoomed into the bug. Just that was done on purpose, I would imagine. So Vegeta actually does take the Senzu Bean bug and he's fully healed. And then Goku's like, this isn't as easy as it should be with the child bodies. But I mean, at this point, I don't know if we can really use that excuse anymore, but sure, Goku. So here we get to the main lore building part of the episode. We have Goma zooming in on Haibisu's belt. Of course, we can see this. Goma has like the all-seeing, like, I don't know, television broadcast live stream of everything going on in the demon realm here. So he zooms in on Haibisu's belt. Obviously, this was foreshadowed earlier in the series, and he does make a comment that's like, hey, isn't that the third eye? So both him and of course Degasu are shocked that he would have such a legendary artifact just like that. So after this, I mean, I think, yeah, so that goes right into this. We'll talk about this in a second. So just going in order here. Soon the royal police get overwhelmed and retreat. So that was sort of the first wave of the royal police. Then they move a little bit deeper, approaching the castle. And Goku and the others head over to the location, sort of where like Tamagami 1 was. And an alert is tripped, and another wave of royal police start like pouring out. And this is a massive, this is like essentially the army of royal police. There's a lot of them charging at them. So then it cuts back to Degasu and Goma. And Degasu says the third eye has been lost for quite some time. And then Goma says Abura, who is this guy, this is obviously Deborah's father, we know that, Abura used it during his reign of King of the Demon Realm, but Goma and Degasu aren't too clear on what it actually does. So they don't actually know. And then Goma tells Degasu to concoct some sort of plan to retrieve the eye from Haibisu. So now it goes into, I don't even know what to describe. This is like, we don't really see this too often in Dragon Ball. What actually happens here is the narrator takes over, and I'm not really sure how I feel about this. I think this is a little bit of a lazy way of explaining the history and lore of this artifact. I feel like there should have been someone who knew about it, and he maybe Neva knows about it, or maybe Goma had just for some reason actually did know about it, because it actually does show Goma was around during the reign of Dabura and Abura. So the fact that he doesn't know really what it does almost makes no sense. But essentially what happens is it just cuts to like a 3 to 4 minute segment of the narrator literally explaining the history of the third eye and what it does and why it was lost. So again, I don't really know if I'm a huge fan of that method of storytelling and just getting around. It's sort of like a lazy way of it's like a cop-out almost to me. You couldn't have implemented this some way into the actual story to have it, flow naturally. You're invoking the narrator to do this. It kind of feels a little bit cheap to me. But anyway, what happens is the narrator jumps in, and the narrator begins explaining the third eye and the history of the third eye. So he says, throughout history, rulers of the demon realms have used the third eye to infuse themselves with incredible demon magic power to rule over the demon realms, which that's pretty much what we expected. This is a good shot of Abura using the third eye. They put it on their forehead, and that's sort of, how it gives them the power. And then this is actually, I guess, is this Dabura? I don't even know, but this is Abura. This is actually a really good shot of him using the third eye, and it does show there's no image on here of it, but it does show like an image from behind Abura, and he's using the third eye, and there's like these giant red beams emitting from him. So we don't know how strong it actually makes you, but I know with them spending this much time explaining what it does and the history of this thing, it probably does make you pretty strong. So probably going to play a role at the end of Daima, the climax, some way. And then it cuts to Dabura. So obviously Dabura is Abura's son. And let me just see what else I have here. When Abura became ruler of the demon realm, it was stolen by someone and its whereabouts became unknown. So since Abura's rule, no one really has known where the third eye was. A flashback ensues showing Dabura instructing an insect-looking character to go and steal the third eye so that he could use its power to rule the demon realm, essentially replacing his father. So this is a good picture of Dabura. I don't know if there's no like picture of this bug character, but it's just like some random, it's definitely some like random character that doesn't matter. But this is Dabura giving the key to basically unlock where the third eye is. He tells him to go steal it and basically contact him when he's in a safe spot with it. So the bug guy goes in and steals the third eye. It's like in this like little like jewelry box thing. And he flies away, and when he lands, he gets like attacked, and the third eye gets like pushed off of a cliff or something like that, and it gets lost. And then that bug guy gets like killed or something. I don't even know. It's a very interesting development that happens to that bug character. So anyway, the third eye getting lost, and Dabura doesn't end up getting it. And Dabura's like, okay, well, I mean, as long as the third eye is out of the picture, that's really all that he cares about. So Dabura actually ends up overthrowing his father Abura to take control of the throne of the demon realm. But then obviously it, further goes ahead and shows that Dabura, this is him on the throne. And here it shows Goma. This is what I'm talking about. It shows Goma was around during this time period where Dabura and Abura, because this is right after Abura gets overthrown by Dabura, he's around. So how does he not know what the third eye at least does? I mean, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But anyway, he's there, and then it's like, oh, but Dabura got, destroyed and killed by Majin Buu. So that sort of left Goma to, as the next in line to take control of the throne of the demon realm. And then the flashback then cuts to Haibisu, who runs into the third eye in the forest, and then he fastens it to his belt, which is how we got to this point in the first place. So that sort of explains the background and history, brief history of how the third eye has functioned in, I guess, its role assisting the rulers of the demon realm in the history of the demon realm to help them like establish their places as the rulers. And then here's Haibisu finding it, and this little jewelry box is where it was from. He takes it, puts it on his belt, and that's how we got here. Okay, this is a funny scene here. So let's see. A gigantic army of royal police rush towards everyone all of a sudden, aka Goku and everybody, and then it cuts to commercial. So this is like halfway through the episode. All of a sudden, this is where we cut back from. This is where we get to the scene. All of a sudden, a female character we haven't seen before approaches Haibisu and says that she'll give him a kiss if he gives her the belt. Haibisu's like, I don't really care about that, but he's like, I'll trade it for your hat. So he ends up trading, because obviously he has no idea what this is, right? He ends up trading the third eye for this lady's hat. And I assume this person was instructed by Degasu to get this. It actually doesn't show this directly on screen, but obviously it's heavily implied that Degasu did enlist the help of this person to get the third eye. So that's now the third eye is in the possession of Degasu, it looks like. All right, so now we go back to Goku and everyone else fighting the royal police again. Goku and the others can't take it anymore, in charge of the royal police, taking them all on. All of a sudden, they hear a giant explosion, and out of the smoke, some gigantic tanks appear ready to fire at them. Is there a picture of this? There's like no good image here. I mean, you can kind of see it here. It's like a giant tank. There's like 3 of them, and they have this super like electric thing attack. The tanks, okay, so here's how the tanks work. The tanks shoot at the floor, and it basically AoE stun locks everybody. That's the best way I could really describe what happens here. And there's actually, I'm glad that we have a good image here, because this really does a good job of illustrating how this works. So they just shoot at the floor, and it it just AoE stun locks the entire floor, whoever's on the floor. Number one, they can't just fly, right? I mean, hello. And then number 2, literally Goku just goes Super Saiyan 2 or Super Saiyan 1 and just blasts through it. Like, that's, I think, going to be the main thing that people are very upset about this episode for, is this all could have just been taken care of in 30 seconds if Goku and Vegeta and Piccolo actually tried. I mean, we're talking, yes, these are not normal tanks. These are not normal guns. They're magic demon guns empowered by, mystical, energy sources. But we're past guns. We're past tanks at this point. This is post Buu Saga, Goku, Vegeta, and Piccolo. I think people are not really going to take too kindly to Goku and Vegeta getting stun locked by an electric tank. But okay. So there we go. That's sort of what happens there. And what else do I have here? So it paralyzes everybody in place. Right as the cannon is about to fire again, some green explosives fire down from above, and it shows Ponzi's dad, who's obviously the king of the third demon realm, and their crew have arrived to help out. It's funny because it plays this like super triumphant music, and then the cannon just like the tank just like points its cannon upwards and just fires at their ship and just destroys it immediately. But then they make it down to the ground safely, and then they essentially just start charging at the royal police force, or royal police army. And at this point, things start to look pretty good. Their ship is quickly taken up by a single blast, but they make it to the ground safely, and they're ready for battle. Pretty soon the good guys start overwhelming the royal police, and Goku goes Super Saiyan to finish off some of the stragglers with some blasts at the end, which is this scene right here, which, hello, you could have just done this from the beginning. hello, Goku. Or even just go Super Saiyan 2 and just like blast everybody away, right? I mean, that's, I don't know. I could 100% see a lot of people being very upset about this episode. I really was not a fan of this, but we'll see. So at the end here, it does, okay, yeah, this is like the final scene of the episode. So before this scene actually happens, it shows Goku blasting everybody, and then it pans back to Goma and Degasu. Goma is furious when he realizes his army has lost, but Degasu says it should be okay because the royal police force is still waiting his orders. If you guys remember back to last episode 14, it's basically the Walmart Ginyu force is what he's referring to. But I don't know, Degasu, I mean, there's no picture here of that conversation between Degasu and Goma at the end, but Degasu seemed a little suspicious in that exchange with Goma. And I don't know if Degasu is planning on using the third eye for himself, because this is obviously Degasu instrumented this plan to get the third eye. So I don't know if Degasu is intentionally going to be hiding the fact that he has the third eye from Goma and maybe trying to use the third eye for his own bidding. But it seemed a little suspicious at the end, because obviously we know he has it, right? So why would he not tell Goma about it? So that's really how the episode ends. Then it pans back to Goku and everybody, and they start laughing, and it's like the standard anime ending where like everyone's laughing and the camera pans up, and then the end credits start rolling. That's essentially what happens. So the next episode is actually titled Degasu, and we do actually see the Royal Police Force here. We do have Vegeta being confronted by one of them. Here's Goku, and then here's Degasu pointing a gun at baby Dende, and he's looking very menacing there. So we'll see. I was a little bit underwhelmed by this episode for sure. Again, I really wasn't a fan of this. And there's two main reasons why I wasn't a huge fan of this. I think personally, again, people might not agree with this, but personally, I feel needing to invoke the narrator to take over and explain what probably is going to end up being a very important piece of Daima at the end of the story here, the third eye. I imagine the third eye is going to play a role in like the final villain of the series here, needing to have the narrator come in and just bail out the series and explaining what this thing is and the history of it. Somebody, some character, it could be Neva, it could be Goma, Degasu, Supreme Kai. There's a million ancient characters in the series. You couldn't have some of them or one of them just come out and explain what the third eye does in some way. You couldn't have concocted that somehow. To me, that's a little bit cheap. It might not be the biggest deal to people, but we really don't see this happen in Dragon Ball that often. Usually the story plays itself out, and we don't really need to hire the narrator to come in and cop out the story, because it's usually pretty well told. But I feel like this time it wasn't well told enough. Like when you have to resort to doing this, that means you did not tell the story well enough. That's how I feel. And then the second thing I really didn't enjoy was just, I feel like most of this episode was Goku, Vegeta, and Piccolo, and Ponzi and Glorio, and the third Demon Realm King and his army, whatever, taking on the Royal Police, and they're cannons and whatever. We're on episode 15 now, man. I don't know. I don't think we need to focus too much on the tanks that the Royal Police have. And Goku and Vegeta and Piccolo getting stun locked by an electric tank is a little bit weird. And to me, I think a lot of people are going to feel the same way as me. But overall, it wasn't a terrible episode, because we at least did get some progression in the form of the story. And next week does seem like it'll be somewhat entertaining. We have the Royal Police Force again. They're probably not going to amount to much again. They were very surprised and almost they thought it was unbelievable that somebody could beat Deborah and Majin Buu. So I don't really expect much from them. But the episode being titled Degasu, I'm not really that could be interesting. But we'll see. We're getting close to the end here, and I was expecting this episode to really be the beginning of things ramping up very heavily, and that wasn't really the case. So they're really pushing things to the end here in terms of, if they're going to give us new transformations, fusions. I think a new fusion is assuredly going to come out at some point here, but I don't know. After you guys have watched this episode, you guys can let me know what you think, but this to me certainly felt like one of the weaker episodes in the series so far. Even compared to some of the first few episodes of the series, this felt like it really didn't need to exist almost. You could have woven in the third eye lore somewhere else. You could have not had 2/3 of the episode fighting the Royal Police army and having Goku getting stun locked by a gun. So anyway, let me know what you guys think. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.